All right. We got a question from Tom. And Tom says, I often hear you speak about the benefits of the Turkish getup. Yeah, Tom, I love the Turkish getup. I really, the other day, when we had all those guests over from all over the United States, we did a lot of Turkish getup, some Turkish getup variations that we kind of just invent. We have this one variation where you start in the prone position, and you could, so prone on the ground, but I just thought of it, you could probably start in the prone plank, and then you roll onto your back into a Turkish getup. You roll down back into that plank, or we were on the ground, roll up the other direction. So you start a Turkish getup on your belly, obviously no load. And I just looked at that and I thought, yeah, there's a lot of good coming out of that. Okay. However, it appears that to do it correctly, it takes considerable individual coaching to get to technique correct, which can be quite expensive. Well, I don't know if it's expensive. I mean, my college education was free. I just had to, throw the discus 3 or 4 hours a day and lift weights for an hour and a half, 2 hours every day, and not go to a dance or get drunk for, or have any alcohol for 7 or 8 years. It was very cheap. I get your point. But, I just don't understand why people don't, I had this, sorry, I'm going to do a riff here. So we had this back and forth between Brian, myself, and this person online about all these insights, about all this stuff. In their last email to me, the person says, well, I've never purchased any of your stuff, but I sure appreciate all this. And I thought to myself, wow, only in 2022 would you hear that. Hey, I have illegally downloaded everything you've ever done. I haven't paid for any of your stuff. I go to those sites, was it called Scribd, where all my books are, and I just pull them off there because I'd rather give those people the money, the pirates, than, the actual author. Yeah, proper, everything's expensive. And the thing is, here's what I'm telling you from the heart, Tom. And I'm not just trying to get your money. I'm not. What happens is all of a sudden people get very tired of sharing their intellect with you for free, and they just suddenly drop off. And the crappy thing is all the idiots take over. And in the fitness industry, we've been like that for a while. And I got to tell you, we are some of the most famous names in this industry. Holy cow, I'll read some of the stuff or I'll watch a video and I'll be like, why don't we just, the workouts, be sure to press 911, United States emergency numbers 911. Dial 911 before you do that, because you're not going to have the energy you might have the energy to press the 1 at the end there. Yeah, so yeah, it's expensive, but is it worth it? I don't know if you're married, but if you told your spouse that, oh, don't worry, I got you, the cheapest ring I could possibly find at your engagement. I mean, I can understand why you do that. It's frugal, it's thrifty, it's probably a good idea. I just don't know how good of an idea it is. And the other day I had to buy all new tires for my car. My tires only lasted 9 years this time. What? In fact, the guy told me they were still fine, but I bought new ones anyway. But, I'm not going to send my daughters off in a car with bald tires and no brakes. Yeah, it's expensive to fix the brakes and it's expensive to fix the tires, but it's my babies. Okay, enough of that. I'll move on. I have also heard you speak about the get back up, where you have clients get up and down many times using and not using hands. Yeah, you can see the videos. Just type in get back up on my YouTube account. You'll get a ton of them. I see a lot of other people using it. In fact, somebody else invented it right after they saw my thing. It performed better. It's real simple. It's in 2 of my books, maybe 3. You stand up. I say, get on your belly. And then I say, get back up. Then I say, on your left side, you get on your left side. I say, get back up. Right side, get back up. Push-up position plank, get back up. On your back, get back up. And then from there, there's some small variations. And I can get you up to 40. Boy, I tell you, when we do it, it performs better. And I have people do just like 20 or 25. They're burned out and tired, which is kind of interesting. For cheap lifters like me, is the get back up sufficient mobility work for someone my age and fitness? The only problem with your question, Tom, this last line here, for someone my age and fitness, but you gave me no information about your age or fitness. Now, maybe you did and it got edited out or something, but is to get back up. The thing is, that Brazilian study about getting up and down off the ground and how it indicates longevity, just like grip strength, lean body mass, getting up off the ground, grip strength, the amount of lean body mass you have, and then how you perform the movement at getting up and down off the ground. These are wonderful indicators about how you're doing. Another one, very simply, and I notice now it's become famous. By the way, this is all in my book, and it'd be nice if I had a copy back there of Can You Go? It's all in there. But stand on one foot, time how long you can stand on one foot. Mike, my PT, will have me stand on one foot with my eyes closed, which is brutal for me. It's just, I'm not very good at that. Those are some very easy ways to check, to see how you're really doing. Now, obviously, I'm a big fan of blood tests also. You should go to the dentist, you go to the eye doctor, you should go to the medical doctor, you should get blood tests. One of the reasons I like to go to and donate blood at the American Red Cross 5 times a year is I get a very short physical every time, and they keep my numbers for me, and I have a little chart that I can go online and press a button and see my hematocrit levels, my blood pressure, my heart rate, and I can see, and I can actually now even step back and look and see, ooh, this was a stress-filled time. I didn't know that. And then I'll look back in my journal and go, oh, yeah, obviously. So yeah, I think it would be a good thing. How about making it even simpler for you, because you're so cheap, Tom? I would just suggest doing an original strength movement. So stand up, go down the ground, 6-point rock. Oh my God, I hope I don't have to make you go buy something for doing that. I'm sorry, Tom. I was messing with you. Stand back up, go back down. So maybe just something as simple as standing completely erect after every mobility or stretch might be all you need. In fact, I think for the bulk of the people, that's all they need. One thing Brian Gwaltney asked me to ask you about too. People ask me about a lot about heavy Turkish get-ups. Now someone's going to ask, what do you mean by heavy? Well, just for the record, I've cleaned 182.5 kilos, which is 402 pounds. I've snatched 314, which is 142.5. I had the heaviest deadlift in a powerlifting meet. So when I say heavy, you have to make sure you caution yourself before you try to one-up me on heavy. I think heavy is anything that you're worried about controlling. If you need a spotter on an exercise, that's heavy. Famously, the reason my best back squat is 605 for 3. And somebody watching it said, you could have done more. And the problem was at the upper limit, we had a mirror here, and I could see my spotters' faces, and I could see by their faces, they were freaked out. So I racked it on 3. If you need spotters, it's probably heavy. Are there advantages, disadvantages to heavy Turkish get-ups? I don't honestly see any advantages. Now, someone's going to say that they're a mixed martial artist because there's 7 or 8 billion people on this planet. And from what I'm reading online, 6.5 billion of them are mixed martial artists. Everybody now is a mixed martial artist. And it's great. Maybe it has great value. I know that the Turkish get-up does come from the wrestling tradition. In fact, it's in the other room. But if you read one of my favorite books of all time, John Jesse's The Encyclopedia of Wrestling Conditioning. And if I got it wrong, I apologize. It's at Bill Hinburn, Hinbern's site. And it's a wonderful book. Tell him I sent you. It's years ago I mentioned it in an article on T Nation, and he sent me a thank you care package. So Bill Hinburn, buy everything there. And it was just wonderful to get all those. So all my assistant coaches got copies of the book, and one of them, who was a bodybuilder, like, what would I use this for? And I'm like, and that's why you're not going to be in this field very long. And I was right. When you study wrestling conditioning, you will find a whole bunch of the stuff you see in the kettlebell world. These are these adapted and adopted ideas from kettlebells. Now, is there value in the Turkish get-up? Yeah. If you don't know who Otto Arco is. He was the guy, he was Rodin, depending where we live now, the thinker, and he was the physique model for the great sculptor's work. He weighed, I don't know what, it was like 60 kilos, but all he had was one barbell that weighed like 65 kilos or something like that. So all he trained with for his body was just nothing but barbell Turkish get-ups. Now, if that's all you have, that's great. But he was also, he had a great physique. He was young. He was a model. He had a lot of things going for him. Comparing that to, Edna, the grandmother who just showed up, it's a completely different ballpark. So do heavy Turkish get-ups have value? Yeah, but not for everybody. And that's the hardest thing about working online. We all think, and I know that your mom and dad, they loved you so much and you're wonderful and you've never, but honestly, folks, not everything is for everybody, okay? There are some things like air and water and food, yes. Do Turkish get-ups have value? Yeah, I like the idea. There's positions in the formal Turkish get-up as you move up and as you come down that can illuminate, like for me, I can always figure out how my hip flexors are doing by the half kneeling position as you wind out in what we call the windshield wiper. I get instant feedback right there. Ooh, I got to warm up more. And when I do Turkish get-ups, and we did this Saturday morning, we just did 10 minutes of unweighted Turkish get-ups. Well, once I got in that position the first time, I stopped and I did this thing we call thread the needles. That's where you take your high hand and drive it underneath your leg. And it's a mobility, flexibility exercise, very specific to the spot. Did that a few times. As I came down, I had lubricated the joint. I felt fine. It gives you some real insights about how your column or core is doing. It gives you a whole lot of ideas, okay? For shoulder stability, it's wonderful because, especially you have a load up there. I like better is, I'll pretend this is half a cup of water. That's my favorite way to do Turkish get-ups. Use a plastic cup halfway filled with water. If you go like that, we call it getting baptized, and you get wet and we laugh at you. I think that's far superior than most of the stuff we do, even at certs. The idea is this. So primarily, Tom, number one, getting up off the ground is gold and you should do it more. And that is true for everybody listening, all billions and billions of you. Up and down off the ground as much as you can is wonderful. Keep it up. The second thing is getting up and down off the ground. There is some interesting things you can do with mobility and cardiovascular work, getting up off the ground. So number two. Number one. There is a bit of fall protection. At my age, the most dangerous thing in the house is the floor. Getting up off the ground at least gives me some comfort knowing that it's not a dangerous place. It's interesting when you're working with young swimmers. If they're in a pool and they can see the bottom, very often they're very safe. Take that same person and put them in the middle of the ocean, above the Marianas Trench, and say that, I think it's 7 million. Is it 7 miles? Say it's 7 miles to the bottom of Marianas Trench, and you say the bottom of the ocean here is 7 miles. They're not going to want to go in the water if they're a young swimmer because they're, I can't put my feet on the ground. No, you can't. So it does protect. It stops people from thinking the floor is the bottom of the Marianas Trench, which is a funny thing to say out loud. From there, the intricacies, you can build up some mobility. You can build up some strange core strength. You can work those 4 knots. The 4 knots are the 2 shoulders and the 2 hips. And then, of course, from there, you could impress your friends with feats of strength by lifting people with your arm from the ground or you can be at a bar like I was at one night, and the girl did a Turkish get-up with a keg on her fist. And I thought to myself, no wonder everyone hates us at this bar. I hope that helps. Tom, it's a good question. There is good and bad with everything we decide to do. And, that's just the way of the world. when an orca is hungry and it eats the liver of a great white shark, it's a lot more efficient for the orca to do that than to eat 170 skates and rays. Having said that, it's real bad for the great white shark. So that's an odd way to finish it, but just always remember, there's good and bad with everything, and you got to learn to embrace that. I throw my arms around it, in fact, and just keep trying to find the best cost to benefit ratios you can. For me, doing Turkish Getups for 10 minutes with no load, great. Benefits, low cost. Doing them with a 400-pound barbell over my head, I don't know what the benefits, but the cost, if it slips, is going to be very, very high. So that's your job.